Hi guys, so I'm going to take a look at Stable Diffusion. Now, Stable Diffusion is an AI image generation tool, and it does what they call text to imaging, and that basically allows you to type in a description, and then the AI will transform that description into an image. So if you can describe what your mind is thinking, AI will take a hack at trying to interpret what you're thinking as an image. And so there's a lot of use cases for this particular technology. Stable Diffusion is a set of tools that allow you to do that. And it also does some other cool things too. And we'll get into that probably in a second video. But I primarily want to look at the main use case for Stable Diffusion. And it does something very similar to what you could get out of something like Dolly or Midjourney or some of these other similar tools that are online. Now, it doesn't create large images, but it does give you the ability to create some fairly detailed images and gives you a lot of control over practically everything you're doing in the image. So with that in mind, let's go and look at how to install this, and then we'll look at some resources that you can use to enrich the experience, and then show you how you can use it for some of the basic features. And then we'll probably do a second video where we deep dive into some of the more advanced features of this tool. And this is, again, part of the ongoing series I've been doing in AI, where I've been talking a lot about different kinds of AI and different kinds of AI tools. And this one is particularly interesting to me because of the kinds of things that you can use it for. Beyond just creating images, it's really powerful for illustrations and for concept art and different things like that. So let's just go through the installation process and we'll walk through that, and then we'll go and look at how you can use this at a basic level. So the first thing we'll need to do is set up Python. Now, Python is the backbone of a lot of open source AI projects, and we'll need to install this. Now, we can't get the latest version. We need version 3.10.6, which is right here. But if we need to go to a specific version, and so you could get something older than that, you can scroll down this list right here and look for the appropriate version, 3.11, 3.1.8. You could probably do this one right here. So 3.1.6 is the one we need. We're going to click on the download page and then scroll down to files, and then you would get whatever one you need for your platform. Since I'm using Windows, that's what I'm going to get here. So, and then you can install this. So this is a pretty straightforward installer. Just run through it. You do want to select add 3.10 to the path variable, and then you can then install it. In this folder right here, you can customize installation and run this as an administrator, and it'll install it for all the users, but this is probably fine for what I'm doing. I've already installed it, so I don't really need to reinstall it, but it just basically installs it. That's a fairly straightforward installation. It's the installation of the next components that can get a little tricky, but I'm going to walk through that as well. So the next thing to install is Git for Windows, or you can install this through whatever channel you want to for your platform. This is just another easy to install piece of software. It's just a wizard. You can click through it. You can pretty much just take the defaults on this. You don't have to nuance this if you don't want to, because it's a fairly straightforward installation. So I'm going to install it, and it's going to install the basic packages and all the kind of things that you get out of the package, out of the box with it. And once we have that installed, we have a lot of the satisfied dependencies for this to work. So that's all we need for now. And then you can click finish, and now you have Git installed. So after you install it, it's going to automatically start the app in whatever your default browser is. Now you can also bookmark this or just type in the URL. It's 127.0.0.1:7860. You can bookmark that by hitting Control Z, and you can add that to your bookmark site. And then you can load it anytime you want to. So this is the basic UI for this. There's a lot of tabs here that you can use for all different kinds of things. We're not going to get into all that. We're mainly going to be talking about this screen right here, looking at some of these controls down here, and then also Loras, and then checkpoints, of course. So the easiest way to do this is to create an image is just to type in what you want. So dog sitting on a lawn. You just type in prose, and it's going to generate an image. And I've got it basically set to the defaults, which is 512 by 512. And that'll take a few seconds to create the image. And at the defaults, it's pretty fast. Usually you get an image in about 20 or 30 seconds. It doesn't take a ton of time to use the defaults here. But as you can see, this is kind of cut off right here from the frame. And that's part of dealing with this, is you got to kind of work with it. It's can struggle at times. And so if you see the image, you're going to see something like that. That's not, it's kind of deformed right here around the mouth. So you can fix some of this stuff by adjusting some of these parameters right here. So usually using more sampling steps is going to give you higher quality images. So you can kind of fix some of this deformity like it's going to have right here. Another thing you can do is adjust the CFG scale too. Adjusting the CFG scale basically talks about the how literal it interprets this, and then how much creativity it puts into it otherwise. So you want something, if you want to try to force it to be more literal to your description, then you can use slide this over here. Going much past 12 is not recommended. You can go all the way to 30, but anything beyond 12 will typically distort the image. Anything typically less than 6 or 5 or 6, it kind of will distort the image as well. So using between 7 and 10 is kind of the sweet spot in my opinion. And steps is usually a good thing to adjust here. 30 is a good round number if you're 20 is the default, but 30 seems to be a good number. And you can also adjust the resolution. I wouldn't go much more than 7068 on this base model right here, and that's going to give you a quality image as well. So let's go ahead and generate this image, but I'm going to put in what they call a negative prompt, and I'm going to put a parenthesis around it. I'm going to say tongue, because I want this dog to not have a tongue. And I'm also going to change this up here. I'm going to say dog sitting, and rather than use a sentence, I'm just going to put keywords, dog sitting, lawn, and I'm going to put golden right here for a color. So maybe it'll give me a golden dog. So a golden dog could be like a lab or a golden retriever, and I don't want to see its tongue, so I just want to see it sitting on a lawn. So let's generate this and see what it gives me. So this is the image it created with that prompt. Let's see what this one looks like. And it's a golden retriever. It's not exactly the best quality image in the world, but it gave me, you get the idea here. And there's my original image, so it seems to be a little bit better, but we could probably fine tune this a little bit more with some of the things here. Now, if I like the image, I can reuse the prompt, but get different variations of a very similar image. To do that, I'm gonna use this recycle seed here, and the seed is just basically a random number that will keep it from recreating the same image over and over from the same prompt. So by generating a new seed, I could click generate many different times. You get a lot of different images, but if I use the same seed, I should get the same image if I was to click generate again. But what I can then do is click extra, and I can have a variation of an image, say maybe 10%. So if I like this pose right here, I could maybe create a couple of different images for this particular pose. And to do that, I can set a batch count. So I'm going to create 2 images based on this image right here. It's going to be very similar to this one. And so I should get, or 3 images, I should get about 3 images of a dog sitting on a lawn, but they're going to be slightly different from one another. And so I can use this to capture variations in it. So let's go ahead and do that and see what we get. Okay, so I did a batch of 3, and this is what I got. So you can see here that you end up with sometimes you get distortions in the images. So this one is a little, here's the original for comparison, which turned out okay. And then you had these 3 generated images right here that are similar, but this one's a little bit deformed. This one looks okay. This one looks okay too. So again, just some variations of what you can do with this. Other things that you can do with this thing is scripting various aspects of it. So if you want to script the prompts, you can use the prompt matrix or this XYZ plot thing or whatever. I'm not going to get too much into this, but sometimes I like to use this XYZ plot, which allows you to change various aspects of the variables here. So you can put in a range of different variations, and you can then automate the creation of a bunch of images using that. So if I wanted to, for instance, change the color, I could use XYZ prompt SR, and it will allow me to change some aspect of the prompt. So I'd put in the value that's in the prompt, and that could say, generate me a red, black, or brown dog. And then I would get this to create a series of images for each one of these colors. If I set it to a batch of 3, then it's going to give me 3 golden dogs, 3 red dogs, 3 black dogs, 3 brown dogs. And then if you had a Y type right here, you could use this and add a different prompt. You could put cat, dog, and then cat in there, and then you would get golden cat, red cat, brown cat, golden red, black, brown dog, and you get golden, red, black, brown cat, and then 3 variations of each if you have a batch. So you would get basically 8 times 3 or 24 images for each of those different combinations. So this gives you a lot of ability to automate things and do a lot of other cool stuff with it. So very useful tool for a lot of this kinds of stuff. So this is just the out of the box experience. There's a lot of stuff you can do to kind of extend this. And that's what I want to talk about next with getting more models that are going to be more fine-tuned for specific kinds of images, and then also fine-tuning those larger base models with Loras, which are basically adaptations for specific kinds of aspects of images that you might be interested in. So if you want to get some different models for this, the place to get that would be Civitai, which is civitai.com, which is a repository for models and images and different kinds of things. And this is a site that's generally dedicated for the art of creating AI-based images. So the way to search for this is just to type it in up here. So I'm going to type in animals or something like that. You could type in a lot of different things, and then you can filter this for checkpoints. So we're going to look for checkpoints right here. And I typed in animals. I could probably look for dogs. I don't know that they're going to be anything, no models found. So there's no specific models for dogs on this. This one, animal faces, that's a checkpoint. That one looks promising, and so does this one. So we can get both of these right here. This is just going to be, looks like animals and what have you. And this one looks like just a general purpose wildlife model. So this one's 2 gigs, and this one is about 4 gigs. So you can just click download, and you don't have to log in or anything like this. And you can download these into a download folder, and these will be downloaded to your local machine. This one requires me to be logged in, so let me go ahead and log in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and let this download, and we'll come back when they're done. So once you have the models downloaded, you'll have them right here. There's a folder you want to put these in. So I put this in a folder on the root drive called Stable Diffusion Web UI. The folder you put all this in is called models right here. And you have a bunch of different kinds of models in this, and they all do different things. The two that we're most interested in for generating images is this one called Stable Diffusion and this one called Loras right here. And this one right here, you can see a file says put Stable Diffusion model checkpoints here, and you can see that's that base model that we just were looking at, and that's a v1.5 approved safe tensor .safe tensor, and then we have the animal faces, and then we have the wildlife model. And so once you have those on your machine, you can then come back over to Stable Diffusion, refresh the list right here, and you should see whichever one that you just copied to that particular folder in that list now. So I'm going to choose maybe this wildlife X animals right here, and it's going to take a few seconds to load the model. It can take up to a minute. It's estimating 7 seconds, but depending on the machine and how fast it is and what have you, depends on how quickly it will load that. So once you have that model loaded, now you can generate different images using that. So I'm going to reset the seed here to -1, so I get a random seed, and I'm going to use the same prompt though of a dog sitting on the lawn without a tongue, and hopefully get a golden retriever. Let's see what this generates for me. Okay, so this one generated an image, and this one actually looks a lot better than some of the other ones I got. I mean, it's still kind of wonky. I'm not sure what that thing in its mouth is. Here's some of the original images that I was getting. And the quality is okay, but this one looks a lot better. Looks a lot more realistic. I could probably run that again and see what that looks like. Okay, I ran that one, and I got a different image. It's got some artifacts in it right here, and that one's okay. I've seen better. This is the nature of generating these kinds of images, though. So you just have to play with it. So with that, you can test the model, and if you wanted to use a different model, you could try the other one as well. But that was mostly for faces, so I don't know that I'd get exactly what I was looking for it. But for this wildlife one, it worked okay. It actually worked better than the default one, I think. So it's because it was trained more specifically for dealing with wildlife, like these images right here that we see are samples. So this particular one is pretty good. If I wanted to fine tune this, though, I could look for animals. I don't know what I'm going to find here. And let's see if we can look for models. I'm going to filter this. You can filter this for Loras, and Loras are basically fine tuning of models. And Loras give you different kind of controls for, like, if it's going to be dedicated to specific aspects of an image. So it'd be like noble animals and royal clothes. So it would fine tune clothing and faces of animals, or party animal styles. Let's see, I'm not seeing pet home animals. That one looks interesting. That one could be useful. That one's not going to work with the model I downloaded, but it's good to know it's there. I need an XDL model for that. And an XDL model is the high res models that we saw right here. So this one could be useful for generating images of animals. So I would have to get an XDL model to back that one, though. And then this one right here. So let's go ahead and download this one right here. And this is a stable, a Lora, and I'm going to get a model that will work with this one too. So I'm going to download both of those, and then we'll attempt to use this Lora to fine tune a model. So I downloaded those two models. Now I'm going to move this one into the Lora folder, and this one is the basically fine tuner of an existing model. So I'm going to put this one in my Stable Diffusion Lora folder right here, which won't have anything in it as of right now, but now it does. Now, and I need to move this model into the base model folder, which is Stable Diffusion right here, and it's a lot larger. So it's going to have a lot more ability to create larger images, as well as a richer what I might call library of options available in the data that's embedded in the model. And the Lora that I downloaded was for what they call an SDXL model, which is a higher resolution. So the Lora has to match the underlying model for it to work with that model. Otherwise, if you try to mix and match, you'll get some strange things happening. So let's go ahead and reload this, and let's load up that SDXL pet diffuser right here, and that's going to take a minute to load. It's a fairly large model, so it's going to take a little bit longer than 7 seconds, I imagine, but we'll come back when that's done. Now, since this particular model was trained as an SDXL model, I can use higher resolutions on it than 512 and 768. I could probably bump this up to 768 and this over here to 1024 and be okay with that. Now, by doing that, it's going to take a lot longer to create these images. So let's go ahead and run this. It'll take a few minutes to create one image versus a few seconds like we've been seeing with these other ones. So here's what an image might look like if you were using an SDXL model. It is a little bit, I think, can be a higher quality image, or it could be a lower quality image. I generated this one using an SDXL model alone. Now I'm going to use a Lora. Now Lora just basically fine tunes an existing model. Since this was already kind of tuned for pets, I don't know that it's really going to make a huge difference, but we will. Now this is going to be setting a weight, so you can set the weight is basically how strong the given fine tuning model is going to come through, and you can actually do that with some of the terms too. If you put them in parentheses, you can use a syntax that looks like something like this, and you can tell it a weight that you want, and typically a weight between 0.3 and like 1.5 or 1.6 is the range that you would want to use. So anything that's lower means that it's going to come through less. Anything stronger, it means it's going to come through more. So if I do golden like 0.8, that's going to come through pretty strong, and that means I typically want something that's golden rather than something that's not. And it's very similar to this syntax right here with the extra parentheses. I could also do something very similar to that and just use a numerical weight like 1.5. This is because this is a negative prompt. This is going to come through as something that I don't want in the image. So I'm telling it emphatically, no, I don't want a tongue in this image. So let's go ahead and generate with this LoRa and this model and see what we get in response. So this is the one with the LoRa on it. I think this is probably a little bit better quality image than what we have with this one. So it's not exactly a golden retriever, but it is a golden lab, and it does have does seem to have a higher quality image compared to some of these other ones that we got earlier. So the ability to upscale these is also a built-in feature of this. If you go over here to high-res fix, you can actually use a built-in upscaler, and each one of these do different things depending on what your needs is. I can't go into all the details about which one's best, and really just depends on what you're doing. You don't have to use the upscaler though. If you want to create higher resolution images than just what it was trained at, like an XDXL was trained at 768, you can use this to basically work around some of the limitations of some of the base models, and then use high-res steps. It will kind of scale up the image and then allow you to generate higher quality or higher resolution images than what the model was trained at. And that's typically going to be 512 by 512 for one of the base models that aren't XDXL. Then XDXL are going to be 768 by 768. So depending on what you're trying to do. So all of these different features combined are going to enable you to shape the image creation process. And we're going to look at some of these other tools in probably a part 2, where you can look at the image to image tools right here, and then I'll also look at some of the extensions and other kinds of things that you can do with this kind of stuff. But this is the main window for doing a lot of the kind of stuff that we've been talking about right here. And we again looked at generating an image, looking at how you can use different models, and then how you can fine tune those with LoRa models as well. So again, just a basic introduction to the tool, but a very powerful tool if you want to do stuff for creating images and having a lot of control over the process rather than just the prompts themselves, like you typically get with something like DALL-E or something similar to that. So hopefully this has been good information for you, how to set up and use some of the basic features of Stable Diffusion. Now, there's a lot more you can do with this, and we'll go into some of the more advanced features in a second video, where I want to kind of look at some of those other tabs. It's a very powerful tool for image manipulation. As you saw, it can generate photographic-like content. It's mostly used in the context of generating illustrations, like anime images and things like that. But it can also be used for generating photographic content for ideation, for trying to discover something that you might want to use that you can fine tune. And that's what some of those more advanced features will work on. And it can also take existing images, maybe ones that you took with a camera, and then you can use some of the advanced features to kind of edit those images, to change aspects of it, maybe remove parts of it, add new content to it, whatever it might be. It can kind of fill in some of those gaps in the images that you might already have on your computer or that you might take with a camera. So those kinds of features are some of the things that you can do with this as well. And we'll look at some of those, like I said, in another video. But as always, like and subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching.
If you like this content, please consider subscribing to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button. You can also like this content by clicking on the thumbs up, or share this content with your friends, and also comment in the comment section down below. You can also find me online at www.blaze.net or on Twitter at @TheOneMule. And as always, thanks for watching.